Most men don't miss the 1980s. They miss who they were during the 1980s. They miss having their whole life ahead of them. They miss friendships that seemed unbreakable. They miss feeling needed, connected, and optimistic about what tomorrow might bring. Because when men say, "I miss the 1980s," they're usually not talking about the music, the cars, or the fashion. They're talking about something much deeper. They're talking about feelings that slowly disappeared without them even noticing. And the surprising part is that most of these things had nothing to do with the decade itself. Today, we're looking at the 8 things men really miss when they say they miss the 1980s. And chances are, you miss some of them too.
Let's start with number 8, having more free time. One of the biggest differences many men remember about life decades ago was the feeling that there was simply more time. Schedules felt simpler. Life felt less crowded. There were responsibilities, of course. People worked hard. They paid bills. They raised families. But there wasn't the same sense of constant urgency that many people experience today. Back then, when the workday ended, it often actually ended. You weren't expected to answer emails at night. You weren't carrying a smartphone that connected you to work 24 hours a day. Weekends felt like weekends. Evenings felt like evenings. There was room to breathe, room to relax, room to be bored. And while boredom gets a bad reputation, many great things come from it. Creativity, conversation, reflection. Today, many men feel like every moment is scheduled, occupied, or interrupted, which is why what they often miss isn't the decade itself, it's the feeling of having enough time to enjoy life. Now let's move to number 7, strong neighborhood communities. Many men remember growing up in neighborhoods where people actually knew each other. Neighbors talked, families gathered outside, children played together until sunset. People borrowed tools from one another. They looked out for each other's homes. And if someone needed help, there was usually somebody nearby willing to lend a hand. The neighborhood wasn't just a collection of houses, it felt like a community. Today, many people can live next to someone for years without learning their name. Life has become more private, more isolated, more digital. And while technology has brought many benefits, it has also replaced some of the everyday interactions that once connected people. Many men don't necessarily miss the streets themselves. They miss the sense of belonging that came with them, the feeling that you were part of something larger than yourself, the feeling that people knew you and cared whether you were doing well. That's something many believe has become much harder to find.
Now let's talk about number 6, face-to-face conversations. One of the biggest changes over the last few decades has been how people communicate. Today, most conversations happen through screens, texts, emails, social media messages, video calls. And while these tools are convenient, they're not quite the same as sitting across from someone and talking. Many men miss conversations that weren't rushed, conversations without distractions, conversations where people looked each other in the eye. Back then, if you wanted to talk to a friend, you often met in person. You sat together, you shared stories, you laughed, you listened. And those moments created stronger connections than many digital interactions ever could. The strange thing is that people today are more connected than ever before, yet many feel lonelier than previous generations. Perhaps part of the reason is that communication became easier while connection became harder. And that's why face-to-face conversations remain one of the things many men miss most. Now let's move to number 5, feeling optimistic about the future. This one is deeper than most people realize. Many men who came of age during the 1980s remember feeling that the future was full of possibilities. There was excitement about what was coming next, excitement about careers, about families, about opportunities, about building a life. Of course, not everything worked out perfectly, life never does, but there was often a belief that hard work could create a better future, that tomorrow would be better than today. that opportunities existed if you were willing to pursue them. Today, many people feel overwhelmed by uncertainty, economic pressures, rising costs, constant negative news, political division, and endless reasons to worry. As a result, optimism can sometimes feel harder to find. But when many men say they miss the 1980s, they're often talking about this feeling. The feeling that life was moving forward. The feeling that good things were ahead. The feeling that the future held promise.
Now, let's move to number 4, being harder to reach. This is one of those things many people didn't appreciate until it disappeared. In the 1980s, if someone wanted to contact you, they usually had to call your home phone. And if you weren't there, they simply couldn't reach you. That was normal. Nobody expected an immediate response. Nobody assumed you were available every minute of the day. There was space between people. There was privacy. There was time to think before responding. Today, many people carry a device that keeps them connected every waking hour. Messages arrive constantly. Notifications never seem to stop. Work follows people home. News follows people everywhere. And the expectation of being available has become almost constant. Many men miss the freedom that came from occasionally being unreachable, not because they wanted to avoid people, but because everyone needs quiet moments. Everyone needs time without interruptions. Everyone needs space to think, relax, and simply exist without feeling connected to the entire world. Looking back, many realized that being harder to reach wasn't an inconvenience, it was a form of freedom. Now let's move to number 3, the pride of building things yourself. There was a time when many men took enormous pride in fixing, building, and creating things with their own hands. If something broke, you tried to repair it. If you needed a shelf, you built one. If a project needed to be done, you figured it out. Part of this was necessity. Information wasn't instantly available. Professional services weren't always easy to find. And many families simply couldn't afford to hire someone for every task. But there was another benefit that came from this culture: confidence. When you solve problems yourself, you develop a sense of self-reliance. You begin trusting your own abilities. You learn patience, you learn persistence, and you gain satisfaction from seeing the results of your effort. Many men remember spending weekends in garages, workshops, backyards, and basements working on projects, not because they had to, but because they enjoyed it. Today, convenience has replaced much of that experience. Almost anything can be ordered online. Almost any problem can be outsourced. And while there's nothing wrong with that, something valuable has been lost along the way. The satisfaction of creating something with your own hands, the pride of saying, "I built that," the confidence that comes from knowing you can figure things out. That's something many men still miss.
Now let's move to number 2. Lifelong friendships. One of the most powerful forms of nostalgia isn't about places or things. It's about people. Many men remember friendships that lasted years or even decades. Friends they grew up with, friends they played sports with, friends they worked alongside, friends who shared milestones, victories, failures, and unforgettable memories. These weren't relationships maintained through social media. They were built through shared experiences, hours spent together, road trips, conversations, challenges, life events. The older many men get, the more they realize how rare those friendships were, because adulthood often pulls people in different directions. Careers change, families grow, people move away, responsibilities increase. And slowly, some friendships fade, not because anyone wanted them to, but because life happened. When men say they miss the 1980s, they're often remembering a time when many of those friendships were still strong, a time when their closest friends lived nearby, a time when getting together required very little planning, a time when brotherhood felt natural. And while some of those friendships still exist today, many men miss how easy those connections once felt. Now we've reached number 1, feeling needed and important. This may be the deepest reason of all. Because beneath the nostalgia for neighborhoods, friendships, privacy, and free time lies something even more meaningful: purpose. Many men remember periods of life when people depended on them. Their families depended on them. Their children depended on them. Their co-workers depended on them. Their communities depended on them. Every day brought responsibilities, challenges, problems to solve, people to help. And while those responsibilities could sometimes feel heavy, they also provided something important: a sense of significance, a sense that you mattered, a sense that your presence made a difference. As people grow older, some of those roles naturally change. Children become independent, careers end, retirement arrives, life becomes quieter. And while retirement offers freedom, it can also leave some men wondering where their purpose went. That's why many men don't actually miss the 1980s. They miss the feeling of being needed, the feeling of contributing, the feeling that someone was counting on them. Because purpose is one of the most powerful forces in life, and when it's missing, people often feel it deeply. The good news is that purpose doesn't disappear with age. It simply changes. It can be found in mentoring others, volunteering, helping family members, building relationships, sharing wisdom, learning new skills, or contributing to a community. Purpose doesn't belong to any particular decade, but many men first experienced it during those years, which is why they remember them so fondly.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more stories, life lessons, and reflections. And let me know in the comments, which of these things do you miss the most? And what do you think people today are missing that previous generations had?